Greetings from Storybrooke. I'm Bobby Hawk,
I'm Elizabeth Placencia.
and this is the land where darkness never wins. It only fools you into thinking it does. And we talk about the ABC's hit series Once Upon a Time. How are you doing this week, Elizabeth?
I'm doing excellent. How are you, Bobby?
Fine. Tony's not able to join us yet. Hopefully he'll be able to join us soon. But we do have one special individual joining us. He's tapping his chin, waiting for me to greet him to greetings from Storybrooke.
Come on, Bobby. It's only been a year. You don't have to wait this long to introduce me. Come on. Jeez.
I was trying to build it up, but I guess we've been building up for a little bit now. We know him, we love him. It's the former host of Greetings from Storybrooke, Bill Meeks. How are you doing this week, Bill?
Excellent. You know, I've actually been waiting on the Hangouts every week for you guys to introduce me, and you just never do, so I just end up sitting here waiting to talk about Once Upon a Time.
Well, if you say that, you're going to get a lot of people upset at me because I don't want any of your Rabbit fans at my heels.
That's fair. They are Rabbit. That's a requirement for
Okay. So just I want to get kind of your feedback for just a second while I've got you here before we get into it. Like what have you thought about the season so far, seeing as no one's really heard from you?
It's been interesting. Definitely interesting. It's had its ups and downs. I mean, there were many moments throughout this series, the season that
Kind of sounds like you're echoing, Bill. Sorry.
Yeah, I know that. I'm not quite sure where that's coming from, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm not getting that on my end.
Okay, well, then we should be good then. But no, there were several points in the season where I was like, I'm really glad we stopped doing this.
Yeah.
It would have been hard to get through sometimes. Like I feel like they completely wasted the Land of Untold Stories plotline. That was pretty rough.
Yes.
And one episode I was a pretty big fan of the Double Evil Queens, but after that I just kind of completely tuned out of that storyline. Actually, the ultimate episode where they have their final showdown and I guess redemption happens and stuff, I still haven't seen the last 15 minutes. So any other Evil Queen questions I probably can't answer for you.
Fair enough.
But I think they ended strongly though. I'm sure we'll get into that a bit more later.
That's what we're here to talk about. But before we do, let's let Elizabeth hit us up with this week's rhyming summary.
Season 6, episodes 21 and 22. Emma's just crazy, or so she's been told, a result of a curse from the Mother of Gold. She stranded the others in Fairytale Land, but Henry's determined to give them a hand. Without Emma's belief, the land starts to crumble, so Henry decides to get help from Rumple. When Gold makes the fairy dust fit for an urn, in a flash the town's memories start to return. Yet that's not quite the end. The Savior's vision still stands. It's Emma versus Gideon for the sake of the lands. Will Emma fight this time? The answer is nope. Because she's determined, the true power is hope. As good defeats evil, the realms reappear, and everyone gets a happy beginning. Is that clear? But wait, who's that girl? Is that Henry? Seattle? We start a new book in this week's Final Battle.
Final Battle! Great job on the rhyme. Is someone who invented the rhyming summary? That was very well done, whichever one of you wrote that this week.
Okay.
That would be Bobby. Good job, Bobby.
No, I've got to say that I worked really hard on that, Bill, because just like you said about inventing the rhyming summary, I definitely took a cue from you as far as the layout of it and everything. And I was racking my brain. To be quite honest, I worked harder on that than I did the notes. So hopefully the rest of the episode goes smoothly. But
I think if nothing else, Bobby, you have sufficiently harnessed my genius, and I feel dumb as a rock too. So this is going to be a great episode. It'll be good.
Okay, no offense, but I mean, no offense to Bobby. I love the rhyme. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been tough throughout the year to come up with.
It's really hard. It's really hard, Elizabeth. I will give you I just told you I worked harder on that than I did the rest of the notes. That was my way of saying that is really hard.
You know what?
But once you finish the rhyme, it makes you feel so good about yourself.
Yes, definitely.
I would love to say I empathize with you, but I don't. They're super easy to me by now. I've written almost 300 of them.
Well, yeah, what is 10,000 hours. Help me, Bill.
Yeah, 10,000 hours, you become an expert in anything. I've probably spent 10,000 hours writing episode summaries. So,
but who came up with that? Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm Gladwell in his book The Outliers. I think.
Yes, thank you. I had that rumbling around in my brain, and I had to ask you to get it out of my head.
It's all right. I helped grease the path to get it out of there.
There we go. All right, so we've talked enough about the rhyming summary. So let's go ahead and move on.
I thought this was a rhyming summary review podcast.
Yes, this is a podcast just about us coming up with a rhyming summary for each episode of Once Upon a Time.
Perfect.
And so let's just, for a few minutes at least, talk about what actually happened in the episode. Okay. So apparently history does repeat itself because Fiona ended up taking a cue from Regina, and we more or less just saw a revamp of season 1 in like one episode. Mm-hmm. So there were a few differences. The one thing I do want to mention, though, is like if she was going to send Emma away, I don't understand why, or I mean, if she was going to send anyone that would help Emma away, like Regina and the Charmings and Hook and everyone else.
Yeah.
Why did she keep Henry around?
I think I have the answer to that.
Please.
Because I think every time that her family has been ripped away from her and they go back to the Enchanted Forest, Henry's never gone to the Enchanted Forest. Only once did he go because he put himself in the book when the author put everybody back into the Enchanted Forest. That's the only time Henry's ever been to the Enchanted Forest. Otherwise, he wasn't born there, so he can't really go there.
So because he wasn't from there, the Black Fairy couldn't return him there. That's
the logic they gave us years ago.
See, I thought it was more tactical. I thought that the Black Fairy kept him in Storybrooke because she needed, I mean, she had the curse going for her and everything, but to really, truly rip that last shred, as she puts it in the episode, of belief out of Emma, I think she needed the leverage of Henry to kind of get Emma to a place where she would completely reject her belief.
Well,
good point.
True, but I don't understand why Henry, again, another faux pas, I guess, in my mind, is I don't understand why Henry had his memories.
Maybe it has something to do with him, the nature of him being an author. Maybe because, he's kind of in control of the stories. It's harder to curse. Because, I mean, we never saw, Isaac cursed or Mickey Mouse, guy with the beard, cursed.
No, but what you just said actually makes a lot of sense as far as saying that because he is almost the creator, especially of this book, particularly, that it's like you said, it's harder, especially with like some sort of mind wipe thing, to make him forget.
Yeah. You know what I thought was stranger than Henry being left behind was that Belle was left behind. If the Black Fairy was trying to convince Rumple that Belle had left him, then why didn't she just have Belle transport back to the Enchanted Forest with everybody else, with the rest of the gang? Because
she had to do a revamp, just like what was it in the first season that we found Belle in the insane asylum?
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, well, it was, although I thought that was even crueler as far as the insane asylum goes, that they made her agoraphobic.
What's agoraphobic?
Afraid of leaving your house.
Yeah, she wanted.
That's what that was.
She wanted to see that, in reality, she wanted to go see the world, and so not only did the Black Fairy hide her from Rumple, like it shows how cruel she was.
Yeah.
Not only did she hide her, she made her the thing she feared. Well, not feared, I would say, but the opposite of what she loved.
Yeah, she didn't just move that chess piece off the chessboard, but she just ground it into dust while she was at it, just for kicks.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. But I mean, we'll get into that later as far as Fiona and her being a villain. I do want to touch more on this first curse. How do you feel about the other changes she made in the town besides the mention of Belle, like I had mentioned there?
Well, I want to touch upon the timeline. So in the beginning of the episode, Dr. Hopper, I can't remember his first name all of a sudden.
Archie,
thank you. Archie says that Emma has been in the insane asylum for 2 years.
right?
Then later, Fiona says that Henry is 14 years old. Yet we know when Henry got Emma when he was 10 years old. He brought her to Storybrooke when he was 10.
Right.
So by the logic, if he was 10 and that he should be 13 or 12, by the logic, so Fiona's saying he's 14 doesn't make sense, and he's clearly older than 14 to begin with.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like the timeline didn't make sense at all to me.
And he's still in the same grade he was in the pilot episode because Mary
I think
Margaret's his
so.
teacher at the end.
Was it Anne-Marie who was saying that Henry is old enough to play the new version of Henry? So why did they? Or Jared Gilmore's looks old enough now to play the new version of Henry. So why did they let him go?
New version of Henry. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah, okay. I forgot this is the series finale.
Yeah. It's the series finale, right? It was really good too. I mean, I'm loving talking about it for sure.
Another person who I wasn't quite sure who remembered was Gold. How did Gold remember?
I think it's because he's a dark one.
But like,
sorry, go ahead, Bill.
No, please. Yeah, were you going to say something, Bill?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that I know during the first curse, while he didn't know outright like he does in this episode, he had these kind of inklings and he kind of puts it to fate or whatever. But
then he also had to hear Emma's name. That's what always breaks the curse as far as him remembering. If there's any kind of mind swipe thing, it's like that that's how he remembers, is by hearing Emma's name.
Well, I was kind of, on my rewatch, I was trying to track where he figured it out or, where he had the realization or if he knew the whole time. And the closest thing I could come to is like a point where he knew was probably when he found the book from Belle. I think that might have jogged something. And then he was trying to get Gideon back on his side so they could go and figure out what was going on together. But he just couldn't break through that mental barrier. That's one way to interpret that scene.
I understand. The way I kind of did the same thing you did and couldn't even find justification in that scene. The only determination I came to is that he just knew. Yeah. And so I was trying to come up with, like, in my mind, like, okay, did he know that he wasn't going to trust his mother as far as what she said she would do? And so he put in a fail-safe for himself, before she did the curse. But then again, like, I hate having to make those kinds of justifications in my mind if it's not something that's said or done on screen.
Yeah, I kind of think Liz's explanation is probably the best one to go with. Just, he's the dark one. He
Almost kind of like your author thing is like, it's magic.
Yeah. These are powers outside of our understanding, guys.
Yeah,
it's magic, Okay.
Kind of a little singing.
And then it seems like you did have another question about the Black Fairy, Elizabeth, about her putting her in the insane asylum.
Well, I wrote that comment before it was explained, but my comment was that I thought Fiona was postponing the final battle by putting Emma in the insane asylum. And I actually had just like 2 weeks ago, I finally watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Nice.
Remember how we were talking about that a couple weeks ago, Bobby? Yes. So it was like, the fact that I finally saw that movie and then they were talking about it in this episode, it was like, oh yes, I'm glad I saw that. But
so you finally get like Nurse Ratched and the Indian.
Yes, I finally get all of that.
Awesome.
I finally get all of it, and it's a really good movie.
Operation Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes, I love that. Was one of my favorite moments.
But and once Snow and the rest of them were like figuring out, it's a battle for her soul, which we'll get into. That's when I was like, oh, okay, so that's why she's in the insane asylum.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Now, okay, as far as Fiona, just overall as a villain, I never really felt I understood her motivations. I feel like all season we were trying to understand why, how, all the questions as to what her motivations are, and that's why for weeks I kept saying that I was waiting for the Black Fairy episode. It's because I was waiting to see the history of that, and in my opinion, they never really made it all that clear. As far as not only how she became the Black Fairy, but afterwards, like, why did she keep abducting children? How did she have power if she didn't have the wand? Why did she have to go get that wand from I don't know, just so many different questions I don't understand about the Black Fairy.
Well, I think the wand sort of enhances her power, and that's why because she needed to do something really big, which is why she went for it.
Fair enough.
But I kind of read it as kind of synchronicity a little bit with Rumple, because Rumple, for seasons now, we've known that, he probably got some of his bad traits from his dad's side, but, who's his mom? I wonder if there's any, that's where his redeeming qualities come from. Turns out not so much. Both his mom and dad were just super power hungry kind of people. I mean, they both came to it in different ways. One,
right.
Peter Pan came to it because Fiona left him and left him and Rumple behind, and he didn't want to deal with the kid. But I mean, they both ultimately had this thirst and this hunger for power, which, Rumple has up until this day.
That was one of my favorite moments of the Black Fairy backstory, as far as, you just said, Malcolm didn't want to have anything to do with Rumple, but it wasn't that he didn't want anything to do with him. It was that he blamed him for, the love of his life's death.
Yeah.
And now here sits this constant reminder of him. And so I don't know. I'm not trying to be on Malcolm's side or anything. I'm not trying to say
you're not, Bobby Hawk.
But I felt that definitely lent a lot to the backstory. But other than that, I don't understand why she continued to abduct children. I understood everything, like you said. It was pretty much a mirror of what I saw in Fiona. Was a carbon copy of Cora, Regina, and Gold all at once.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw different shades of all three of those people in that one character.
Definitely. You know what I want to know is why did she have those really bad photoshops of Belle on her when Rumple very rudely asked about reopening the investigation on Belle when Henry was being loaded into the ambulance? Like, why did she have those pictures on her, like, ready to go?
Well, I would imagine, I guess that she was just, she was ready, for Rumple to ask that question, or she's magic. The guy asked a question, she just pulled what she needed to pull out of her
I would
pocket.
hope that magic would create better Photoshop pictures than those
right?
Like,
they were bad photos. Very bad.
I could do what was done in those photos back in 1998.
Yeah, those photos were like, oh, you want to see the world? Well, let's go to Sears and we'll put you in front of a backdrop.
I think I saw someone write online too, or they just went around the World Showcase at Epcot and just took a bunch of pictures.
So just in general, what did you think of Fiona then as a villain?
I really rather enjoyed her. I think in the musical episode she was kind of lame. But
was she in the musical episode?
Barely. Yeah. Because Emma's song is what defeats her
at
for
the end,
half a second or whatever.
Yes. But she doesn't sing or anything.
Yeah, but I mean she didn't really live up to the legend of the Black Fairy that we've been hearing for so many years and everything. But I thought she was very effective, if nothing else, for kind of engaging in this final battle and bringing all these characters into what I thought was a very beautiful ending in this episode. So I mean, she wasn't as impressive as I hoped she'd be from the first time I heard about her. But overall, I think she served a really good function to the story. And actually, I said to Anne Marie a few weeks back, I think it was the episode or 2 episodes before the musical episode, if it had been this Black Fairy arc at the end of last season, we probably would have kept doing the show. You know, like I thought it was that well done in comparison to what they were doing this time last year.
I'll give you that. I feel like I liked her as a character more just as Rumple's mother, but I just feel like maybe this is similar to what you're saying, but as far as like judging her as just the Black Fairy, yeah, I guess she never really lived up to what needed,
It should have been blue, man. It should have been blue. Blue should have been blue. Blue turned black, black and blue. That should have happened. That's still my headcanon.
Yeah, what do you think of the villain, Liz?
For me, it's more like I still have questions because it's like, when did she go from loving her newborn son and wanting to protect him to then wanting to keep that power for herself? I'm not sure in that episode, The Black Fairy, when that transitioned, but in this episode, it's really clear that she may have, I don't know how true it is that she was spending centuries trying to get back to Rumple, but it's really clear that her power means more to her than her son. Because if her son meant anything to her, he would not have separated him from Belle.
True, and we see in Rumple when that change occurs is pretty much when he gains the dark powers. But as we also got to see that happen with Rumple over time, we weren't forced to just make it happen over an hour. So in all fairness, I would have to say that as far as trying to distinguish the point that happened with Fiona, I mean, it's probably more or less when she actually, it was even before she turned into the Black Fairy. Because she was already that's why she turned into the Black Fairy, is because she was searching for a way to for a loophole.
Yeah, I kind of interpreted it as that she was looking for a loophole, and then the second they started letting her look at some like the secret fairy text, she was like, "Oh, wait a second, I can use this. Like, this will be awesome." And I think much like Rumple, she used trying to care for her kid as an excuse to, grab power and do bad things.
Yeah, but
like mother, like son.
and it is odd that she did so by turning like into a good, like into a fairy. And then I don't know, how was she? I think I mentioned this even then during that episode, is I don't understand how she was able to how was a mortal able to just turn herself into a fairy and then this fairy was surprised that it could happen. Yeah,
that was pretty weird. I mean, some people are just really good students.
Like I said, I mean, in all fairness, they did just have one episode. And like you said, I kind of almost feel like they hadn't even touched upon the old untold stories at the beginning of the season because it didn't matter.
Yeah, it was like they did 5 or 6 episodes. They weren't doing so hot, so they were just like, okay, let's chuck this whole thing out.
Right.
I think it was only 4 episodes because Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde die in the 4th episode.
And
I'm pretty sure it was the 4th.
I feel if we had been given another maybe 2 or 3 episodes to see more of the Black Fairy's backstory and to let it progress a little,
maybe see how her evil had affected, all of the lands or something like that through the untold stories people.
And just let whatever happened to her herself happen more organically than just instantaneously.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help us, answer some of the questions you have, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Before we move on, you said you had a whole bullet list of points, Bill, that you had to touch upon, and I'm going so far down the notes here.
I can do one of my mega points here. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about Rumple's redemption in this episode. What's that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But for the last time, maybe we'll see.
Redemption.
But I loved a lot of things in this episode. But out of the many things I loved about the episode, the plot of Rumple throughout especially the last half of the finale, it's the thing I love the most. Now, after seeing Miss Rumple mistreated, like you mentioned, Bobby, drugged back and forth over the good versus evil line a million times, it was nice to see him finally get what he deserves, which I think is a happy ending. I think it feels very natural and fitting for him. Every step of his journey in the last half was fantastic. The writers gave him opportunities to make the wrong decision, which made it even more satisfying when he made the right ones. I love that they sent him back to get Gideon's heart alone by himself. In previous seasons, we've seen Rumple return from doing the right thing by himself and off screen, only to find out later that he actually didn't do the right thing at all, or that he at least lied about it. I think the most recent time this happened when he was like, "Oh yeah, I totally killed the Black Fairy," and then turned out not so much. But I thought his motivation for this turn to the good is explicit in his riff on his classic catchphrase, "All magic comes with a price, and I'm no longer willing to pay." He's kind of just at the point where he has things and people he cares about now. He has Belle and he has Gideon, and he finally cares enough about them that he doesn't matter. His power, his ability to even protect them with his power doesn't really matter anymore. It's all about just trying to get everything back to a sense of normal so he can be with the people he cares about.
Okay.
But out of all the characters who have had redemption arcs over the years, it's nice to finally see Rumple get his with at least a hint of finality to it, all while defeating the most powerful being in the once first like she was nothing. I love that too, that he was just like, boop, you're done.
Yeah, that was one of the more epic deaths I really loved.
Oh, yeah.
But it seemed like so easy. Like, she just had her wand and she's dead. And it just seemed too easy.
But it's at the same time, it's Rumple. So I feel like if it was hard for him, it wouldn't have felt like this is the character we've been tracking as the most powerful character and one of the big pushes or motivating forces for the plot of the show. Like I feel like him dismissing her that easily kind of elevated him up a little bit more in the last episode, where he hasn't been so elevated over the past couple seasons.
Okay.
The only thing, and this only occurred to me now that we sit here and talk about it, as far as that wand goes, if it was so powerful, why wasn't it used before? That's a really
the Wicked Witch has used it before to open up portals to Oz and stuff, hasn't she?
That particular wand?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was the Black Fairy's wand.
Huh? I didn't realize.
Yeah, because it's been around, in case of emergency, break glass here, sort of thing. But I don't know if Rumple's ever wielded it. He might have. But it's probably a whole different thing in the hands of the Black Fairy too, because it's her wand.
So the Black Fairy is a figure that we've always known, or not always known, but have known for some time existed, but didn't realize it was Rumple's
Well, yeah,
wand.
because we first heard about the Black Fairy back in, I want to say season 3 with Tinkerbell.
It might have been even earlier than that. It might have been like a season 1 thing.
Really?
Yeah, I think there was at least a mention of the Black Fairy, way far back.
Wow.
I could be wrong, but.
No, I hear you. I'm not even remembering the time that Elizabeth is talking about, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's something like she gets mentioned every once in a while, and this wand has been a thing that they've busted out a few times. Yeah. In fact, when they had Gold Shop down at Hollywood Studios here in Orlando, they actually the Black Fairy's wand was in the window. So
okay.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's been around a bit.
I did not realize that it was that integrated into the show.
Now you know.
Yes, we need that rainbow that comes across the screen. There was something else I wanted to touch. Touching upon what you were just saying with Rumple, do you think that Rumple seeing himself reflected in his mother had anything to do with his, finally coming to the realization that, he's no longer willing to pay that price.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think that if nothing else, maybe getting the full context of his childhood and how everything went down and everything. Because I think in that first flashback where he meets the Black Fairy, I don't think he recognizes it's his mom. But so I think now that he has sort of like this full picture of who it was who left and what he missed out on and why things went down the way they did, I think I'm sure it probably definitely gave him a little bit more wisdom when facing this choice, for sure.
Well, I mean, there was also that whole conversation where she more or less like laid out for him what she did, and then he was like, you did exactly what I did, and now this is just going in circles. This has to stop.
Mm-hmm. I one of the strongest things for me in that whole scene, though, was just that she was basically like, everything you've been searching for the entire series, here, you can have it. You just have to let Emma Swan die. And and he just completely rejects it. And he could have even had Neil back, because
he says it wouldn't be real, right?
Yeah. But I mean, we do know we've seen Jafar in the Wonderland series, change the rules of magic. So I would not be surprised if the Black Fairy couldn't do the same. So I mean, I think it was a legitimate offer, and I think he had to have known that.
I do think it was a legitimate offer, but I also think he realizes that even though it was a legitimate offer, she was, like he said, I'm not going to trust you. I can't trust you, because she had already manipulated, and I think the biggest thing, short of what I just said about, him seeing himself reflected in her, was what she did to Belle. And that was obviously like the final straw when he saw that, like, not only did she not, like I said, I mean, that was just totally cruel. I mean, that's, that's like
like pushing a child down the stairs, for example. That kind of cruel.
Right.
I was so mad when she pushed Henry down the stairs. I was so mad. I was like, that.
I'm sure there was a certain sect of the fandom that was very happy about that, though.
Did anyone think for even a moment that he was going to be dead?
No, but his arm looked really broken. Like the way his arm was positioned on the floor, I'm like, oh, that looks broken.
Well, they did a good job then.
Yeah. And it wasn't so broken that it couldn't get dressed and bust out of the hospital. So at least there's that.
And what, he had like a sling on at that point, I guess, right?
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to point out in that scene in the cave with Gideon's heart and Rumple and Dark Head Rumple.
Yes. That was.
I thought that if the Dark One Rumple, the glittery Rumple, doesn't show up again, it's fitting that he went out on a Rolling Stones lyric. He says we can't always get what we want, and pleased to meet you. Won't you guess my name? The Rolling Stones song about
Rumpelstiltskin. For the devil.
Yeah. So I thought that was a very fitting way to go out if we never see that version of the character again, which we probably won't because it was the series finale. So.
Right.
You just stop saying that, Bill.
No, well, I mean, it was series finale. I mean, how else do you wrap up a series but exactly like this? Now, I'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's time to talk about that, unless you have any other points you want to talk about.
I mean, I have points I want to talk about, but I've been talking for a while, so you guys can talk for a little bit. It's your show.
No, well, I mean, to be quite honest, the only other thing I have to talk about here is that this was okay. Let's pretend this isn't a series finale. Let's say this is the season finale.
Okay. Weird theoretical, but okay, I'll go along with it, I guess.
How did it do as a season? Season finales have to do certain things, wrap up stories and whatnot. And let's just face it. I mean, this didn't feel like a season finale.
No, it definitely felt like a series finale because it was a series finale, Bobby.
There's certain things that need to be checked. If there was like a checklist for putting together a series finale, I think this would have marked just about every box on that checklist.
Do you have a checklist?
No, I didn't make one.
I have a checklist.
Do you really?
Yeah, that's actually my next point. Okay,
wow. Bring it.
Okay.
Bring it.
So as you're kind of hinting at here,
Okay,
Bob,
hold on a second.
Okay,
So
okay.
I wrote that there, if I was going to make a checklist, and you actually made a checklist.
I basically have a checklist here. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's hear your checklist, Bill.
Okay, so let's see here. So many things revisited. The Hatter's hat came back, or at least a reasonable facsimile. That was a huge thing in the show, the first season especially. We've revisited the majority of lands we've seen throughout the series: Wonderland, Agrabah, Oz, Fairytale Land / Misthaven, Neverland, Cursed Storybrooke, Boston, the Land of the Giants, and even Arendelle.
Yeah.
Were they not allowed to even hint at Elsa and Anna? Okay, we'll settle for the reindeer. Is that what happened?
Well, the only people of any of those realms they touched upon was Aladdin and Jasmine.
Yeah, and that was probably because they were the only cast members they could get back on such short notice.
Exactly. Yes.
What else have they done? Sean McGuire was on Timeless, darn it. But they also made a ton of references, homages, and sort of callbacks or rip-offs or repeats of many past stories. That they have a callback to Emma and Charming on the Beanstalk. They have the first season when Henry was trying to convince Emma the magic was real. It kind of evoked the third season when Hook had to convince Emma and Henry the magic was real. Then they call back the poison turnover, the season 1 finale moment. By the way, who would have poisoned the turnover in the new Curse world anyway? Would it have been the mayor, Fiona? And then would they have just locked them up and not dealt with that in a legal manner?
Right.
And then, of course, we get like I said, the callback to Emma and the Beanstalk. And then we get 2 reversals of True Love's kisses that have happened in the series before. In this situation, Snow kisses Charming awake, and Henry kisses Emma awake. A reversal of the last time there was a True Love's kiss to wake up one of the people in those 2 pairings.
Right.
Yeah, but I've always said that I thought that the season 3A mid-season finale, where they leave Storybrooke and they go off to New York, Henry and Emma, was the perfect series finale for this show. But I honestly think this one topped it. I'm glad to see the series go out on a high note, and like I said, so many references. I don't know if I missed any.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a checklist, but I had a few things in here. The portals, the realms. Okay. Was it all a little too late?
I think it was a little late for them to do this episode in this storyline. I think it probably would have fit perfectly to replace like the Underworld storyline and moving forward from that. But I think they did it really well. Like I think this is probably the series finale I always really wanted with this show. Because it was a nice nostalgic romp through all these motifs and things that we've seen throughout the years. And it brought everything, I thought, to a very satisfying conclusion for all the characters. Everyone got a closure to their story. Yeah.
Yes, everyone, and that was the whole point to begin with, was that Emma was supposed to bring everyone their happy beginning or happy ending or whatever you have, whatever have you.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. The what was it I wanted to say? I feel like they did the best they could in the time allotted. I feel like for the most part they touched on just about everything they could touch on. Like you said, they visited just about every realm they visited, and in doing so with all of those realms, they tried to show that these characters in these realms are moving on or are going on. So even though we didn't see Will and Anna, which to be quite honest, I am quite upset about still not knowing what's going on with them.
We saw the caterpillar though, still up there smoking his disco opium.
Yes, and was that was the blue one? So was that Iggy Pop or Timothy Dalton? I can't remember which.
I think Iggy Pop.
I think we have.
Have someone coming in here?
Yeah.
Here, I turned off you guys' audio on the stream for a second while he gets settled. In the eyes of a hurricane. Hey, Tony.
Hey.
How's it going?
Hi, Johnny.
Oh, long day.
I know how those go.
Long.
It's good of you to join us on the last few of our checkpoints of the episode, Tony. Since you just stepped in here, let's get some of your thoughts on what you thought of the episode in general.
Let me see. Well, I've seen it 3 times, so I should have something.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought the episode was fantastic. Like, I was yelling, screaming, like, "What the F are you doing?" Blah blah blah. It was definitely a finale and an ending to their story. As the main cast.
It was a great series finale for sure.
It should have been, but
no, it was. It was the series finale.
Is that how you feel, Tony? Is this your series finale? Or
what? That was a great ending for me, to be honest with you, and I think it should have been the end of the show. But
okay,
I still will be around to watch and see how season 7 unfolds.
Oh, you mean the all fanfic season 7 that the fans are writing? They're gonna do a whole season 7 in fanfic. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good.
All in fanfic.
Yeah, it'll probably have some stupid premise like Henry grows up and he has this daughter who's trying to teach him that magic is real. Nah. I don't think even a fanfic writer would go for that.
No. Not at all. I'm like, you know what? No, that was what actually surprised me the most. Hi, are you Henry Mills? Yeah. I'm Lucy. I'm your daughter. Can't we do something else?
Yeah, thank God they didn't do that on the show, and that's just, in the realm of fanfic and stuff.
Okay, Bob, Bill's delusions aside.
Delusions?
Okay.
Yes, delusions.
Well,
I really want, since Tony's talking about Lucy, can we talk about Lucy? Because I want to talk about Lucy.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I have more questions about season 7 than I do predictions. And I think that's because it's like, well, why would Henry have a daughter he doesn't even know about? Like, if it's like a family tradition almost to just give up your child. And after that happening to Henry, I don't see why he would do that.
Situations arise. Maybe he lost his memory. If they can lose any more parts of their brain and their,
or maybe she was just raised and he didn't know she existed.
No, well, what probably happened is whenever his house and everything was gone when she went back and Tiger Lily gave her that book and said to restore hope and everything like that. So that means that whatever happened, someone sent Henry away to back to here. So for somehow Henry was in the Enchanted Forest, had a daughter there.
You're assuming the daughter's from there.
Had to be. I mean, she was acquainted with the Enchanted Forest.
Yeah, no, I mean he could have had a daughter here, and then they could have fled to the Enchanted Forest to go into some sort of hiding or to fight some battle or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a possibility. But like she said, that's all speculation as far as what's going to go on for season 7. And I feel like Bill's just kind of like put earplugs in his ears for
sorry, I was on a call with my imaginary friend. Apology. What were you guys talking about?
I totally think that season 7 is going to be a brand new show, and to be honest with you, it would be great to bring I call them the backup cast, like the backup core cast. Bring the level 2 cast to the forefront, and we have their stories. Everything was always about Charming. Everything was always about Snow, Regina, Hook, Emma. How about we bring the dwarves up?
Secondary characters?
Yes, let's bring the secondary characters to the forefront, make them the face of season 7, and call it their show. Because obviously, yes, they're supporting cast members, but I think they deserve so much more than that. I mean, my question still stands for, as the first time that I've seen her, and I'm going to keep on asking because evidently I want my question to be answered. When in the hell did Tiger Lily lose her wings? I want to know that. I want to know what Maleficent and Lily are up to. Have they been living down a street, like a little bit, further away from the action, and they have no recollection of what's going on? I mean, is Emma going to just fade off into the background and say, "Oh yeah, you guys, I'll be here when you need me"? Just like the Charming said, they're not totally like leaving the show dead dry. They're going to come in when their characters are needed. But I still want to know the Blues background. I want to know. I want to know Tiger Lily's background more. Is she going to be important? Is she supposed to be Lucy's fairy godmother? I mean, can fairies have godmothers? I mean, have godchildren like more than one child? I want to there's so many questions and so many things like that I'm glad that the season or the series, as Bill puts it, toward the end, but they're still leaving us with so many questions.
Well, that's kind of the point.
I never got. I would like to say though, if it had been a series finale, sorry, Bill. If it had been a series finale,
it was, so yeah,
I thought it was a very good ending to the episode. I thought it was perfect. Everybody got their happy ending. I've been rooting for Emma to get her happy ending since season 1, since the pilot.
I think the Last Supper homage was a little over the top.
Oh, yes! Oh my God! I was like, wait a minute, hold up, symbolism here. Are we reliving Jesus Christ and his 12 disciples? I just want to know.
That was a little much, but
that was pretty rough.
All other points agreed, Liz.
Why couldn't they just get a regular table with people on opposite sides, not having
no kidding,
not having them a recreation of the Last Supper?
Would that be your least favorite moment?
The camera go both ways.
Would that be your least favorite moment of the finale?
I mean, not my least favorite. Not my least favorite. But
how about you, Bill? What was your least favorite?
I'd probably have to go with that. I think I definitely have to go with that. It was just like, oh, this is great, and look, they're flashing back through all the lands, and everyone's happy, and they have this farmhouse and this, and then it was like,
last Supper.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was great. Though. I mean, other than the Last Supper scene.
And what about you?
Truly adored it.
What about you, Liz? What was your least favorite moment?
There's a couple that come to mind, honestly. Like Henry trying to convince Emma that everything is real, and she's just saying no, and so that was really annoying. And it was just repeated a lot. And then, you know what? We know the least favorite moment was. I know. When she burned the book.
You know what? I truly lost all hope. I literally did. If they were really trying to make us lose hope, I literally lost hope.
Well, then the Black Fairy won because that's exactly what she wanted. She wanted all of us to lose hope. That's why all the lands disappeared.
I literally, I was screaming at the TV, you SOB. Oh my God. I hate you.
The book always reappears. It'll be in a closet or on the road somewhere. Or
in the middle of the, in the middle of the forest. Up a
I seriously hated the book burning. I was upset.
You close the mirror after taking your pills in the morning in the bathroom, and the book standing behind you in the mirror.
I love it. You know what? I thought it was funny. I think they mentioned this in the finale about magic. With the magic beans, which is what I'm surprised about. My question is, if that dragon was there, he has to have a human, he or she has to have a human form. And number two, where did you get the bean from? As far as we know it, Tiny was the last surviving giant.
Yeah, and I thought he went back to Fairytale Land.
Did
He
he?
did. He did actually. When Zelina opened up a portal to let Tiny go back through, the Merry Men go back through with Roland. Quick question.
Yeah.
Quick question. Does Roland know his father's dead? No, I don't think he does. That's another plot hole. Plot hole number 2 that I'm still asking.
Where is Roland?
Right. He's with the Merry Men. Yeah.
Or maybe
But
erased now.
Right. Something,
Because he wasn't on that platform.
He sure weren't. No. Where? Okay. Oh yeah. My next plot hole question. Oh, Jesus Christ! Does Arthur's freaking wife know he's dead? Like, they never
specified. Show Camelot, did they? In the realms?
No,
that's true. No. They didn't.
They did not show that.
Yeah, they didn't show that, and they didn't show Black and White World.
Sure did.
Oh yeah, Germany or whatever. Like that whole Middle Eastern European or whatever. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The land without color.
Oh, and
that's Dr. Frankenstein's world.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and I guess they didn't show the Land of Untold Stories either, but that would have kind of been cleared out anyway. So
yeah.
At least it should have been.
If they were going to show those other realms, they should have gone ahead and shown.
They should have shown all the realms. I'm very surprised that they showed Arendelle.
Mm-hmm.
I was very surprised. I thought we were going to see a cameo appearance of Georgina Haig, and I forgot who played Anna. I forgot, but I thought we were going to actually see a cameo appearance of both of them. And she's now married to Kristoff. Like, why do we only get to see
Aladdin and Jasmine?
Oh no!
The deer.
Yeah.
I got you.
Why do we only get to see the deer? What happened to the other characters?
Because the deer cost a lot less money to get a hold of than the other 4.
Honestly, I think that little cameo of Sven, that's from season 4. That exact shot is from season 4. I remember the head turn of Sven. I remember it from season 4. They didn't zoom in again. They used an old reel of it.
Yes, you mean no. You mean, what's that word? They rehashed it.
Well,
repurposed it.
Maybe they didn't want to spoil the perfect series finale with a reference to probably one of the weakest half seasons of the show.
I think you know what? I think it still paid homage to Frozen period. I really think it did.
Yeah.
For what it was.
Maybe a little too much. Maybe
a little bit too much.
Yes.
I mean, if anything, I always said that the Frozen arc was basically Frozen 2. So there doesn't need to be a Frozen 2. There doesn't. We know what happens. Like, I really think that if there was a Frozen 2, they would have brought in the Ice Queen, and at the end, Kristoff and Anna will get married. That's why I'm always going to say the Frozen arc is Frozen 2, literally.
It's Frozen 2 to you.
Yes, it's Frozen 2 to me, dang it.
You want to know something that bugged me in this episode?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. After Emma leaves Storybrooke, she goes back to her apartment in Boston. Emma's apartment in Boston was sitting there waiting for her pretty much just like she left it in the pilot. So how exactly did the Black Fairy cause that to happen with her curse? She probably didn't, because it's the land without magic except in Storybrooke. So assuming the Black Fairy wasn't involved, does that mean Emma has been paying rent on this apartment in Boston this whole time? Even when she lived in New York without her memories? Even after she got the house in Storybrooke? Even after she went and lived in freaking Camelot for 4 months? How well does being the sheriff of a town pay anyway that she could pay this for this nice apartment in Boston for however long it's been in the show? 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
No, wait. She's had 2 apartments. I wonder, is that other apartment still around too?
The New York one? Well, yeah, Neil's probably is, because I guess Gold paid for that one in perpetuity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many plot holes, so many speculations. Wait,
I always liked Emma's door. The whole door, like with the writing on it. I always thought it was pretty. I'm like, oh, that'd be nice to have on like an actual house or apartment.
I definitely agree. Quick question: are we doing the episode, or is this it?
No, this is the episode.
This is the episode. You know what? Because it seems just like it. I swear, this is the stuff that we should totally be talking about. I mean, this isn't scripted or anything like that. I mean, because like I said, I've seen the episode 3 times. I can tell you my dislikes. I can tell you my likes without even writing notes. To be honest with you,
That's what we're here to do.
Yep.
Jesus.
I kind of feel like that's what you've been doing for the past 10 minutes.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but yeah.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I guess really the ultimate thing to talk about here, honestly, Liz, go ahead, for me anyway, go ahead and get your bell ready. Is that like, okay, there's not a lot of shows that have done this before as far as like a true almost series finale leading into, you know, what could be a new show, and what a lot of people will probably stop watching this, Bill, obviously.
Well, it's not going to be on anymore, so I mean...
Right.
I looked up the TV guide for September, and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. There's no Once Upon a Time there, so I mean,
for a lot of people, this will be a series finale. And another show that's done this before was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
There would not be greetings with Storybrooke without a Buffy the Vampire Slayer section.
Well, in season 5, they like were canceled more or less by WB, and the main character died, like killed her, you know, sacrificed herself. Spoiler alert! Sorry, I probably should have said that for a show that's 15.
You really did, because they have Buffy the Vampire Slayer on Netflix. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I won't tell you how it happened or why, but sorry.
You don't have, dude. You got about 3 weeks to catch up on something before you do. You can't be upset about spoiler one.
Something 20 years ago. But anyway, more or less the same thing happened, and then they were able to start the series again. But in that case, they just brought that character back, and in this case, we've got like the main characters leaving the show. So I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, this is not going to be the same show. I mean, we've got 3 characters returning. And I find it interesting that it's like the 3 villainous characters, even though they're not villainous now. But none of our, you know, Charmings, Emma, Snow, you know, none of the good guys are returning. And again, these are good guys now. But
theoretically, I was shocked that Robert Carlyle was sticking around. Like, he was the first one I was expecting out the door.
Yes, I totally agree.
Because I mean, he just had Train Spotting 2 and everything, and I was like, oh, okay, he's going to go back to making, you know, films. And
those were my 2 biggest surprises, is that Robert Carlyle didn't leave, and that Jennifer Morrison did.
Yeah,
I think Bill just broke through into reality.
Basically.
No, I said theoretically. If they were doing another season and Robert Carlyle was sticking around, which they're not. They're not doing another season.
Theoretically.
Because the series over.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
You know what? As many articles as I've read about his so-called maybe departure, it was a little bit on 50-50. So they must have said something to spark his interest for him to stay for season 7.
In all honesty, yeah, exactly. Yes, I really did like. Along with Bill, I thought he was the first person. You know, like if I was gonna like make a top 5 people of who I thought were going to be wanting to leave the show, Robert Carlyle would have been number 1 on the list, and Jennifer Morrison probably wouldn't have even been on the list, because in quite a few interviews she had kind of intimated that she wouldn't be leaving, that she wanted to stick around, that she felt so much connection with the character. So I don't know if it was payment disputes or what. You know, I'm sure it would have cost a lot to bring her on for longer, and I know she's coming back, they said, for 1 more episode, and then maybe popping up here and there.
The first episode, they mentioned that she's going to be coming back for, definitely.
I'd assume that the series, the ratings have been going down so much that they couldn't justify keeping a lot of the legacy cast around, especially Jennifer Morrison, who has, kind of paid her dues, and she's number one on the call sheet, right? So she's going to get the most money out of anybody in the cast. And then you have Jennifer Goodwin and Josh Dallas, who are both pretty big stars in other arenas now and have become much more so since Once Upon a Time started. So those are definitely the easy ones to cut and run. As far as the Wicked Witch, like I don't think that's a budgetary concern or anything. I think they're just like, okay, we can't do anything else with her. Like,
right.
The next one.
We took away her magic.
She's been kind of
took away her magic.
She's been kind of spinning her bicycle wheels for the past couple seasons now. So,
right.
She's like a background main character. She's a main character, but she's always kind of in the background. They don't give her much to do. It's really annoying.
When they do give her something to do, she sounds like a spoiled brat, saying, "I don't get this, so I'll make everybody else suffer." Okay, all right. I love you, but
I just don't understand why Colin O'Donoghue or why Hook and Rumple will be there without Belle or Emma.
It doesn't seem right. It does not seem right.
Specifically,
Hook and Emma just got their happy ending. They just got married, and now they're going to be separated. What excuse could they come up with that'll be good enough for the fans to say, okay, this is okay?
You know what? We're probably in the background of switching scenes. We're going to see the Bugs still sitting there, or driving around acting like, oh, well, she's off on another adventure, or oh, wait, there goes the sheriff's cruiser. She must be working.
If Once Upon a Time has taught me anything, it's that the writers are very repetitive. So I would have an inkling that maybe the next season, the whole mission would be rescuing Emma and rescuing Belle, and that would be their motivations throughout the season. Because, I mean, that's very repetitive. They've done it a million times. So that seems like where the Once Upon a Time writers tend to go. Yeah,
well, I mean, they've said that the three characters, obviously Henry doesn't have a new identity because she called him Henry Mills. But from what I've read, the other three, Regina, Hook, and Rumple, will have new identities and be in a new town.
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure, and I want to even say they said new curse, which I'm really hoping that's not the case. But I mean,
which is Bill's comment on the repetitive.
Yes, yeah.
This show is famous for three things: new curses, lost memories, and what is another one?
Evil cleavage.
Evil cleavage. There you go. Every new villain, you know what if anything, like if this show has taught me anything, this show has only had 2 male villains and the rest were women. I'm not being sexist, not being anything like that. It's just there's only been 2 male villains. I mean,
you know what they say about Once Upon a Time: the deeper the line, the deeper the crime.
Oh my God!
Oh
Jesus! Oh my God!
Oh my God, Bill!
I just got that. Holy crap!
Oh my. Okay. Okay. So I'm reading this article that's where the creators are talking about the interviewer asked them if this is a reboot, and they said no, it's not a reboot. This is a hybrid. We're calling it an homage to the original premise.
Don't call it a comeback.
Right. Don't call it a comeback because it is not no comeback. It really isn't.
What were you saying?
It's like a spin-off with the same title.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking at. That's exactly how I was looking at it, Liz. This is almost a spin-off because, I mean, we've only got we're looking at 3
original characters,
regular side characters being elevated to main regular characters, and with a whole new book. I mean, yeah, they might as well have called this a different Once Upon a Time somewhere else.
Right.
Once Upon a Time Part 2.
I mean, to be honest with
Once
you,
Upon a Time in Mexico. No, wait, that's a movie.
That's a movie.
In America, wait, no, that's a movie. In the West,
that's a movie too.
Wait, that's a movie.
That's a movie. Once Upon a Time in the East. That's not a movie.
That's probably a movie somewhere.
We could do that. Like, no, but I mean, there are so many things that I still want to know about certain characters. Like, okay, Grumpy can be grumpy all he wants to. Why can't he have Nova?
I kind of feel like, Bright's, looking at the bright side, doing what they've done in moving the show forward and not calling it a spinoff or a reboot or whatnot, that it does leave them the opportunity to still tell maybe stories that we've been wanting to be told that they haven't told.
And that would be perfect. I mean, there are a lot of what ifs and a lot of secondary characters who really deserve attention, like Cinderella, Aurora, Mulan. Oh, goodness gracious!
So and they have said that we might be seeing some familiar faces that we haven't seen in some time.
Mm-hmm. Also, I read an article that that this may actually be like the very last season on the part of Jamie Chung. She let it slip out that everything hasn't been so hunky dory with the with the ratings, and how she hinted. So I don't know if she'll be here or not. I mean, if she does, she's probably going to be here for like about an episode or so, and then come up in some random episode like how she's been treated in the past. I think she's just as important as it is, as other characters who deserve stories to be told.
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows?
Speaking of stories, I really like this one. I did want to, and this is my last point. Yeah, in my secret doc, guys.
Okay.
But I as much as I love this episode, I saw a glimpse of another episode they could have done that I think I would have liked a little more.
Okay.
Okay, so as much as I was expecting what happened in this episode to happen, I kind of saw that it was probably going to be going in some kind of direction that way. Part of me wished that the reality where Emma got committed after Henry poisoned himself was the actual reality. And this episode was kind of like the drop, and we realized that, she's been in this mental institution, and all this has been some weird psychosis of hers. And the most of the series after season 1 finale was all this weird dream, and then it just would have been so subversive and unexpected for a show that generally kind of paints inside the lines. Mm-hmm. I've always said that once is best at its most surreal, and that would have been a very interesting route to go in the series finale. Go through the ramifications of Emma being in the nut house, meet the real versions of characters like Hook and other characters we've met since season 1. Maybe have Neil stop by and be like, I'm really worried about you, Emma, but I'm here to see my son or whatever. I love this finale, but I think that could have been a really interesting direction for them to go to.
That is an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Really?
Yeah, there's an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where she wakes up in a mental institution and is told that her whole career of being a vampire slayer is a lie, or not a lie, but just all in her head. And her dad, her mom and dad are still together, and they come to visit her, and her dad's
Maybe
that kind of reminds me of an episode of Charmed where Piper was unconscious, and the source at the time that they've been battling for like the first 3 seasons, like I think they were into the halfway into the 4th season. It kind of reminds me of that. She's waking up in the mental hospital, and she's like, the power of 3 will set us free. She's like saying this little poem, and the source is like, you've been saying this for a while. You've been doing this, and you think you have sisters. Those are just your roommates and things like that. So
that.
Exactly. So I think that would have been a great, a great ending to the whole show.
It's actually been quite a few times. What the way you're just describing it is like an old sci-fi thing, that's been shown on like Star Trek and Stargate, where they'll put people under to be like to try to get information out of them or something.
Exactly. She was put up under like a kind of a hex or something like that, or she was put to sleep, and then the source went into her dreams threw out her head and replaced everything she knew as her, thinking about this fantasy.
I miss that show.
I do too. They're also thinking about doing a reboot for that too.
Yeah, I was reading that. So I have one final question then, really, is like, okay, regardless of whether you consider this a season finale or series finale,
well, you can really only acknowledge it as like a series finale because that's what it is.
I think I know Bill's answer to this. Will you even try watching season 7? And all joking aside, is it something that even somewhat interests you, or are you just going to call this the end? You just enjoyed the first book.
No, I'll watch it. Like, it's 40 minutes. Yeah, well, I guess on a Friday night now, but or sometime over the weekend. Like, I can find 40 minutes to watch it just to, if nothing else, just see how bad it gets. And
that's another thing too. That's another thing too. I will go ahead and touch upon now that you mentioned that, is that with its move to Fridays, in the past that's always been kind of a signal of harbinger of death, if you will.
The Friday night death slot.
Yeah.
But with today's culture, do you think that even matters anymore?
I don't think it matters as much. I do think that ABC is kind of doing a smart thing, and they're making Friday night like the genre night.
I saw that. Yes, they're teaming it up with Inhumans and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly. Which I always remember Fox had all the sci-fi shows and stuff on Friday nights back in the 90s. Well, they had X-Files on Sundays, but they had like Sliders and things like that on Fridays. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, like I said, it's probably going to be pretty easy for me to watch, if nothing else, just because, I'm a lame dad with lame kids. And, so no, my kids aren't lame. Once I put them down and stuff, Friday nights are actually probably one of my most chill nights, just because, the work week's done. I just want to relax and unwind a little bit. So, yeah, I think, I'm not going to watch S.H.I.E.L.D. because I haven't watched the past 4 seasons, but, I think sitting down for Once Upon a Time on a Friday night is probably going to be a pretty decent routine, even if it's a bad show.
I will definitely be watching it. I mean, I've given the last 6 years to it, so there's no sense in. I mean,
are you guys going to keep doing the podcast?
I was about to say, you guys sound like you're not going to do it anymore.
I was wondering if that was up or not.
If Bill keeps producing it, I want to keep doing it.
In all honesty, that's something I feel like you can kind of. If you're asking me that question, Bill, since we're on air right now or whatnot,
you're on the spot.
Yeah, we're live.
Like,
oh my God, we're live.
We have original_deodorant watching us.
Like you're,
original_deodorant.
You produce and distribute the show right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you were willing to still do that, it would definitely be a yes. If not, then I would have to have you kind of like.
Well, you're doing the show next year, then. Yeah, cool.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yay!
I guess.
What's wrong, Tony?
Oh God.
You don't have to. I mean, if it's a schedule crunch thing for you, Tony, you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean, I really, if it's Bobby just sitting there talking to himself, I mean, I will definitely watch every week.
You can do guest spots. You don't have to promise yourself every week, Tony.
True.
Well, I mean, we can have you whenever you can make it. It's not, but if Elizabeth is willing and I'm willing, that like I said, Tony, you don't have to promise every week, because, and I'll be quite honest, this has been, I won't say it's chore. It's been a privilege. When I started doing this, when I started listening to this podcast, I had no idea that I would start hosting it one day. But
right. It feels like a TV show, like you are seeing the story progress, and you never knew that your character will be moved up to a series regular.
And again, I don't want to say chore, but it is definitely
it's a commitment.
Yeah,
It's
definitely it's definitely a commitment, and sometimes I find myself not meeting that. Which is what I hate the most.
And that's another thing I will say is that if we do this next year, that we definitely need to be more
revamp.
There'd be a little rejiggering. We need to be more. We need, because like we missed the live chat. We really do, and a lot of that has to do with us not being able to make the time commitments that we when you have a live chat, you got to be there every week at the time you say you're going to be there. And it's great to get the feedback that we do get, but I mean,
I miss it how it used to be.
Yeah, for the first few weeks, we did fine, but and in all fairness, we're in 3 different parts of the world.
Yeah, so that makes it hard too. Me and Anne Marie were always just sitting right across from each other.
Right, know? And even when Bill and I and Anne Marie get on a podcast together, we might not be right across from each other, but it's still the same time.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. You guys can say meet here at this time.
Well, not only that, but like right now for me and Bill, it's 11 o'clock at night, and I have to be at work at like 5 a.m. I know Bill probably has to be there pretty early.
I have to be up around then. I have to be to work a couple hours later.
And for you guys, it's an hour earlier or 3 hours earlier, whatever the case may be. And so it's really hard to sync those schedules.
Well, considering all those difficulties, and I have listened to every episode you guys have done this year. I think you all suck. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, God. You know what? I thought we did. JK.
No, I think you guys have done a really good job with it. It's been interesting sort of hearing the format we developed evolve under you guys. And but I think you guys have done a really solid job with it. Yes, there have been struggles with timing and, technology issues and stuff like that. But I think, you guys have rallied, and you got an episode out every week, minus, I think there was one episode that was just lost. They got lost. I
thought it was
that's
2
the
episodes
worst thing. It might have been 2.
There were 2, but you re-recorded one of them, so there was only one episode technically that you missed.
Okay.
The lost episode.
And that was so frustrating. You do not understand how frustrating. And then the second time, I thought I had fixed everything as far as background recording, and then I sent you the recording and it had no audio.
Yeah. It was weird.
Jesus. God, I remember that week.
Like I said, guys, this is definitely it's a commitment. I think that was a well put there, Bill. And but it's a commitment that I don't mind doing. I love the show, or I like the show as far as Once Upon a Time goes.
I love it. I love the show,
and that's good. That's good.
I've loved Once Upon a Time since the very beginning, and I will love it until it goes off TV. But I guess devoting myself to the podcast, let's just say I might pull a Snow and Charming act.
What? Definitely. Fall into a sleeping curse until someone wakes you up?
Exactly when I'm needed.
I'll kiss you, Tony.
Whoa!
On the forehead.
Okay, they call it a platonic.
No, you're good. We all love you, Tony.
Original Deodorant in the chat room says, if you guys read chat, maybe the show would blow up. And then I think he calls Bobby Redcoat.
Redcoat.
I don't know why.
But, oh, snap. Well,
but thank you for hanging out, Original Deodorant. You hadn't really said anything worth commenting on until just now, so we did.
Oh, so we actually have someone watching live and chatting.
Yes, Original_Deodorant.
Thank you, Original_Deodorant. You know what? I need
that was like a jab at Bobby.
Well, no, I think he was just calling him a redcoat. I mean, that's depending.
No, redcoat is like a negative thing. If you
live in
if you're British or not.
Yeah, if you live in England in the 1700s, that's completely cool.
Yeah,
right. I know, right? I mean, I would think that he took it when he mentioned redcoat. I believe that he called you. You're the Emma of Greetings from Storybrooke.
The red I wear the red leather coat. Okay, I'll take that, Tony. I'll take that.
You wear the red leather coat. Your hair is blonde. Come on. Follow the guideline.
Did you have any? Okay, I feel like we've touched on just about everything about the episode.
I'm good.
And now that we know that apparently we will be coming back next season, we'll discuss more of that off air, obviously. But that does bring us on to our next arbitrary scale. Oh my god, how I missed the arbitrary scale. Jeez, it's getting late here, guys. All right, arbitrary scale this week, and I did not write down anything. So out of 347 grains of Fiona.
Ouch.
You know what?
Nasty.
Wait. What about 347 grains of pixie dust?
The host has.
Yeah, you can't change the scale. Once the scale happens, the scale is set.
The arbitrary scale is no longer arbitrary.
The line is drawn, Tony.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
All right, so.
Grains of Fiona.
I'll be your enforcer, Bobby. It's okay.
347 grains of Fiona. Bill, how many grains of Fiona do you think this episode deserves?
I'm gonna go pretty high. I'm gonna give it 310 grains of Fiona. Like I said, I thought it was a pretty solid series finale. Thank goodness they didn't muck it up with any sort of like promise of another season with Henry being an adult with a daughter. And so thank goodness they didn't do that. No, but I think it wrapped up as perfectly as it could have, especially considering how kind of low the show had gotten for me by the end of last season. I loved it. As a Once Upon a Time fan, it made me feel all the things I used to feel about the show, and I think that's about the best you can hope for.
Especially coming from you, because like you said earlier in this episode, I know you didn't care for the first half of the season at all, and there was a reason that you no longer do the podcast.
Exactly. I don't make that commitment anymore.
I missed that part.
All right, Tony, how many grains of Fiona are you going to give this episode?
I'm going to give 315 grains of Fiona.
Nice. Okay. Do you have a brief summary of why you gave it that score?
Okay, so as far as the brief summary goes, I love the finale. It actually felt like it was the ending to the main core cast stories as a whole. Everybody basically got their happy endings. Everybody seems like they're going to move on with their lives past this horrific moment where it seems like all hope was lost. To them as people, as to their homes, as to their loved ones, things like that. I really love that the show literally made me lose hope. And that's what I really wanted, in the finale. I wanted to feel something, and that what it gave me was real. Like when she burned the book, that I totally just completely lost hope. And I think that's what the writers were going for. They wanted to make you see hey, this may be the end, and they may perish. They may not make it back. Mm-hmm. And then they brought us back in, and I love that moment where all hope was lost, and then it comes back and everybody has their happy ending, and I thought it was fantastic. So
nice. And Liz, how many grains of Fiona do you want to give this episode?
Out of 347.
Yes,
I think I'm gonna give it 322.
Nice. Okay. And
I really loved the ending of the episode where everybody gets their happy ending, especially seeing Charming with his new dog and seeing the evil queen getting engaged to Robin Hood, and just everybody gets their happy endings, and it's all really great and sweet, and I loved it all. I did not like the burning of the book, and nor how I felt it was easy to kill the Black Fairy after all that build-up. But other than that, I really enjoyed the episode, both halves of the episode, and it was really good. What about you, Bobby?
Okay, out of 347, I'll give it 300. I'll give it 333 grains of Fiona. I too really enjoyed this as both a series and season finale. It could definitely work as both. obviously without the
Obviously, it
bookends.
was a series finale. Though.
Yes. So we'll just call next season a spinoff. But in all seriousness, I felt that for the most part they touched upon just about everyone they could touch upon. There were some glaring omissions in my opinion. I don't understand why Sean McGuire couldn't pop in for just a moment. Even seeing as was it only 3 or 4 episodes ago, even I don't know when they had this episode written, but they could have filmed his scene then.
They just had him record a line on his iPhone and send it to them.
Yeah, that was rough.
That was
the what was it else I wanted to mention? The Red. Where was Red?
Oh God, yes.
I guess she's off with Mulan. Isn't she in a relationship with? Oh no, Dorothy.
No,
Dorothy.
They could have showed them walking, like how Anna and Elsa came in, on their first episode.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. There were definitely some glaring omissions. But for the most part, like you said, Rumple said to Gold, you can't always get everything you want. But for the most part, I do believe that they did a fair job of definitely making this feel like the end of a book.
Definitely.
End of a story.
And the beginning of a new one with the start of whatever's going on with Henry.
In that weird fanfic that you guys are gonna write, I guess.
Us and every other fan out there.
Listen to us every week next season. Discuss our fanfic.
Our fanfic of Once Upon a Time. You know what? I think this also deserves a retitle of the show too, calling it "Greetings from the Fans" fanfic of Storybrooke.
We'll discuss that later, Tony. In the meantime, on to the news.
First up,
I love how that always comes out. All right, Elizabeth,
what a tragedy.
Do you have any news for us this week?
So the ratings for the first half, the first episode of the season finale drew a 0.8 or 2.85 million viewers. And then the second half was a little bit higher, 2.93 million viewers, and a 0.9. So we're still in the same area we've been in with the ratings. It's not going too high by any means or too low by any means, but hopefully next season it'll get better. But I don't know.
Yeah, even the creators have stated that they know that the ratings aren't the greatest the live next day ratings at the very least, but they also acknowledge that that form of viewer I don't know the word I'm looking for.
Audience meaning or measuring the audience.
Yes, thank you. That form of audience measurement is kind of becoming a bit archaic at with plus sevens and DVRs and everything else going on. There's some, and then
watching it on a pair of binoculars from across the street in your neighbor's television.
Right. Or seeing it in a kind of a portal view.
When are they going to start counting peeping toms as viewers?
Right. There were 0.9 million peeping toms, and
oh my God,
out of a 3.7 demo. I don't know.
They basically acknowledge that it's not the size of their fan base, but the passion of it that has led to
keeps it going.
Yes.
Oh, guys, I have a breaking list here. This is a list of Disney characters I think they should include in Once Upon a Time Season 7, even though they're not doing it. Gus the football-playing donkey, the monkey's uncle, the computer that wore tennis shoes, the host of Mickey's Mousercise, Spin and Marty, the party, not quite human robot guy, Chip, Xenon girl of the 21st century, and Epcot action Ellen. So... Those are the characters I want to see in the next season of Once Upon a Time. That's not happening.
I totally love Gideon.
I definitely would love to see Pocahontas if she was on that. I wish she was on that list.
if you're going to create a Disney list of characters that need to be on here, you have to include Darkwing Duck.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, well,
Darkwing Duck.
I assume when there is trouble in Storybrooke, they will call DW. You know,
If Drake Mallard becomes a semi-regular on next season, I will officially make this my favorite show.
and the podcast will be 4 hours every week.
4 hours,
and it will be nothing but speculating on Drake Mallard and Darkwing Duck and everything else about that.
And Buffy.
It'll just be you saying, "Let's get
dangerous." And how that all fits into the Buffyverse.
But Buffy would definitely make an appearance for 2 episodes. You know, she's probably going to be like, "How in the world did I get here?"
Yes. So that's really all we got really for news this week because this being the end of the season and all, there's not really a whole lot of like casting news or anything.
Breaking news: Greetings from Storybrooke is coming back again next year.
Yes, it will be. That was actually going to be my next point. Is that probably over the summer as we get news, maybe pay attention to the feed. Maybe we'll be throwing together some spoiler parties as far as when casting.
Throwing your own spoiler parties. I'm so proud of you guys.
We're all grown up.
Yes, we're all growing up as co-hosts.
It's okay, kids. I'll get you the beer for your spoiler parties. Just don't tell your dad.
But in the meantime, guys, Tony, I'm glad you could join us finally, and the short amount of time you could. Bill, it has been so great having you.
You should definitely come with us and do it permanently. Come back.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
No, probably not.
Seeing as
come back to the light side. We have cookies.
Yes, and candy.
But seriously, Bill, I know we've said it before, but you made this podcast what it is, and it means the world to us.
Me and Anne Marie.
Okay, yes, you're right. Yes, you guys. I'm sorry, Anne Marie. I'm sure you're back there listening somewhere.
She is not. I think she's upstairs sleeping right now.
Oh, okay. Well,
she got home from her
she'll
meeting.
listen later.
Yeah, she will. She will. I'll make her.
Well, then she heard me in the future.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. She's been known to do
What did you do? Did you use Zelena's time portal spell?
Time is a flat circle.
Did you use Zelena's time portal spell?
Yes, every podcast is a time portal spell. Oh, God. You can listen. It's us from the past talking to you in the future.
Oh my God, so trippy.
But Bobby, to respond to you, thank you for that, and thank you guys for kind of carrying the torch and going to continue to carry the torch. It's really cool that this thing that we started doing out in the garage like 5 years ago is still going, and you guys are still in there every week doing your thing, and it makes me happy, especially since I'm giving up all podcasting for now.
Well, you're welcome.
Yes, you are so welcome.
There's a lot of attitude in that. I was trying to be nice, Liz. Jeez.
I do hope to hear some short form Gotham from you, like you might have been like some YouTube comments or whatever.
I think keep an eye on the Universe Box channel. There probably will be some short form reviews of Gotham in the fall, and then I'm actually going to be creating a new YouTube channel that's short form content strictly for YouTube. I won't say much about it right now because I just came up with the idea yesterday, but I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Bill,
Bobby,
if we no, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Do we have any feedback?
I don't believe we do.
Okay.
But that was if you want to send any feedback, you can always hit us up at the. Okay, let me see if I...
Bobby, stand back. As always, we'll be accepting your feedback. You can email us, greetingsfromstorybrooke@gmail.com, tweet us at GFStorybrooke. The Facebook is facebook.com/greetingsfromstorybrooke, and the voicemail number is 424-274-2352. Again, that's 424-274-2352. And keep in mind that when we come to your house and kill you if you don't send us feedback.
Oh my God.
And that's where the 10,000 hours thing comes in that I was talking about earlier.
Yes, if we don't come and kill you, or if we don't come and send you to another realm,
But
oh my God, Bobby, you just got told.
Like I said, he's been doing this for a few times a week for quite a while now.
Yeah.
I'll get the hang of it eventually.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'm not
You
too
have
bad.
it here. I'm sorry.
Right.
That was
Look.
me. I'm sorry.
It's late.
I think we figured out on our 100th episode of Legends of Gotham that we've done about 300 podcast episodes over the past 5 years. So that's a lot of podcasts.
Woo. That's a lot of
Wow.
talking.
That's amazing.
That is a lot of
But
talking.
Bill, if anyone wants to hear about your Legends of Gotham for the next few weeks, and then your short form content that you got coming up, or anything else that you might have in the future, how could they get a hold of you?
I'd say you can just follow me on Twitter at Bill Meeks, or you can check out all the stuff we'll still do under the Universe Box brand, universebox.com. And you can also follow my cat blog where I speak as an imaginary cat. It's at Bill Imaginary Cat, and it doesn't really exist.
And Tony, if anyone wanted to contact you, how would they get hold of you?
You guys can contact me on Twitter at Hoops900, where I post random stuff throughout the day and possibly live tweet on different shows that I watch. Come on and join me.
And where do you? Okay. Where do you hang out on the internet, Liz?
I hang out mostly on Facebook. I'm always on Facebook. My name is Elizabeth Placencia. And then I'm also on Twitter, which I rarely use, but that's Queen_Liz87.
Okay. Yeah, she always forgets that until recently. You've been pretty good on that lately. And of course, you can always catch me hosting Greetings from Storybrooke, obviously, now that this is going to continue. But you can also, I'm on Twitter at Inevitable Hawk, HAWKE, and then on Facebook at Bobby Hawk. And I guess that's gonna do it for this week, guys. Bill, once again, thanks for stopping by. Tony, if we don't see you again soon,
I'll cross realms again.
All right. But until then,
Greetings
from
Storybrooke.
Yes.
That wasn't so bad.
And we're out.
And I did the finger thing too, like I always used to do.
Yes.
All right. Anyone watching the stream, I don't know if you are, but we're peace.